If you've ever tried learning how to make music online and somehow you ended up more confused than when you started, it's not your fault. It's like Googling how do I start running and you end up on a forum about VO2 max and periodization cycles. You just wanted to know if sneakers were enough to get started. This is pretty universal. Most beginner content isn't actually made for beginners. Here's what actually works. And then at the end, I'll show you where I'd actually send a beginner who just wants to start. All right, so let's talk about the real problem here. Beginner content isn't actually made for beginners. A lot of times they assume prior knowledge. A tutorial that says like just route your send channels and never explains what that means or why that's important or what routing is, that's useless to you. You don't know what routing is. You just want to get a noise in there. You want something, a sticky sound in your software. The next one, it skips the why. A tutorial that shows you just clicking around and doing stuff without explaining why you're doing it, it's going to be more difficult to help you develop those music decision-making skills that are crucial to making your own music. And this is something that I struggled with as well when I was learning production, which is making music actually in the software rather than just playing an instrument. I see you moving this knob, but why are you moving this knob? Is it to give the sound more echo? Is it to make it louder? More deets, please. The next one, it's optimized for more experienced producers. For example, a beginner video that's really just a speed run of someone's full workflow narrated fast. And I am guilty of this in some of my videos as well. I will admit it. If you just get the speed run without the whys, what's the point of the speed run? And it's like being handed a car manual when you're just asked, how do I turn it on? It's too much information. You just need something to help you get started, get you from point A to point B, and then later you'll go from point B to point C. Looking for tutorials to get started, I would watch like 20 hours. And I had barely made my first like 5 songs. And I was hoping that watching those tutorials would get me to the experience level of the artists that I really love listening to. Spoiler alert, it did not get me where I wanted to go. It's tutorial jail. And so when you go in and start trying to apply it within the music creation software, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm having difficulty. I don't know what to do next. So then you go back to another tutorial and you're like, okay, this is enough info. And you go back to the software and you're like, I don't know what to do next. This is what I went through for a lot of the stuff that I learned. And this is a big reason why I have this channel, to fix that for beginners who have absolutely zero experience. It's kind of like fish explaining water. The experienced creator can't see what's confusing anymore. And that's where constant feedback comes in. It's like, hey, what else do you want to learn? What questions do you have? All of that. Like, and I get it. I really do. I get it from the music and the creator side. It all starts to feel obvious once you continue over the humps, you overcome certain obstacles and challenges, and you learn how to first make that little song segment, then you learn how to make a longer song segment. Then you create a full song. Then you want to know how to make that song sound cooler. Each one of those steps and milestones that you reach and that you meet, that the information that you learned before then, it all just becomes second nature to you. That's why we work really hard to break down the tutorials that we make, to put it in easy terms and not big words, so that it actually can make sense, even if it's not the technical term for it. It's a lot easier to comprehend a music creation software rather than a digital audio workstation. It's less intimidating than calling it a DAW when you don't know the technical terms. And that's okay. Now, let's talk about what beginners actually need. You need the permission to start messy. Your first song doesn't need to be releasable. It doesn't need to top the Grammy charts. It just needs to exist and be out there. Now, how can you do that? How can you do that? If you have no idea how to use a software, you have no idea how to play an instrument, you can just record ideas on your phone. And then, as you continue to build those skills, you could start translating those into your software and actually make songs based on those. I have a bunch of voice memos with just me singing. Sounds great, right? Yeah. This is super important because if you keep consuming without expressing that energy through creating, then after a while you feel like you're going to explode and then you'll clunk out. How do I know? Been there, done that. So there's the important balance of creating while consuming those tutorials. And we'll talk about that more as we continue through the video. Next one is Introduction before instruction. You need a tour of the kitchen before you start cooking. You need to know where things live before you can use them. And you need to know what ingredients taste like before you can cook with them. So, one of my favorite analogies is learning how to make fettuccine alfredo. Like, if I didn't know what cheese tasted like, then I wouldn't have made a somewhat decent tasting alfredo. Now, to be fair, the Italians probably would have killed. I can't say that on the internet. But regardless, I made something. Making like the first time I made something like actually decent that wasn't ramen and that I actually put some good effort into from scratch. I digress. Next thing, one thing at a time. Just learn how to put one sound into your music creation software and make it sticky. Learn how to make one of these lines. Learn how to get a line in here. Learn how to make that happen. And then boom, count that as an accomplishment. When I was first starting, I didn't realize how much I was actually learning and how much I was actually doing at a time. So when it came down to it and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't like this song. I just didn't realize how much I had learned through the process and how many skills I had built. Those little realizations throughout your music journey when you're making them, those are going to be the ones that are the most monumental. And that comes from making stuff. And then beginners also need a start where you are situation. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're starting a business and you see a tutorial and you watch it. It's like how to make your first $1 million. And you're just worried about making your first sale. These are very different milestones that we're trying to reach. So first you got to make that first sale. Then you got to get 10 sales depending on whatever you're selling. And then eventually you can get to that $1 million, but first you got to start from over here. The goal is you got to start from point A and get to point B. And then we could go from point B to point C. And that is what I struggled with a lot when looking for tutorials. It would take me from A to Z, and I just wanted to get to A to B. That is something that I really wanted to bridge the gap in with this channel. Let's talk about what actually works. Start with the idea that you already have, not the tool. So again, this is going back and recording things in voice memo. Even if you don't know how to use a music creation software, there's still ways to make music while you're in the process of learning. You don't learn to drive by reading about how an engine works. Instead, you get in the car with the destination in mind and you just start driving. This is a common theme in this video. This is a common theme throughout the channel. There's only so much you can get from tutorials. Most of the aha moments that I've had with making music and music production came from just experimentation and being okay with making crappy stuff. Follow a path instead of a random pile of videos. This is huge. This is how you get results. I watched a bunch of scattered videos on the different instruments within the software and how to get this to work and the most random features that I don't even use anymore. And if I had followed a path, I would have progressed a lot quicker and made more music than where I am now. It's because random tutorials are like loose puzzle pieces with no box. You can't tell what the finished picture is supposed to look like. It's just a guessing game. And that can lead to beginners quitting really early on in the journey because of that lack of path. So if you felt this way, you're not alone. You're not behind. I've been through the same thing. And a bunch of other music makers have gone through this as well. If you've watched the tutorials and still haven't made anything, what are you doing? If you're stuck, I actually built something exactly for this. It's called the Music Starter Lab, and it's designed to take you from zero music experience to your first finished song without any of the overwhelm that I just talked about. Because I remember what it was like to feel like a deer in headlights. We talked with a lot of aspiring music makers in order to create this. And if you're ready to just start making music, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment to enroll and start making your first song today. I hope to see you in there. Ciao.